Ladies and gentlemen, I have now played roughly 4 hours of Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, so I'm going to be giving you my first impressions, thoughts, all the things I like about it, and the things I don't like about it. Well, not all the things, but some of the things, because a lot of the stuff that I talked about in my beta reviews, I don't want to repeat myself again. A lot of those things did not change from the beta to the full game, so there's really no point in me just going in depth with those things again, and those things mainly include time to kill, and the fact that we don't have like a pick 10-like system. A lot of just complaints I had about the beta. There's no point in talking about it now because they didn't change anything, but I want to talk about the things that are either new problems that came up or things that were fixed and in my opinion is making the game a lot better compared to the beta. First of all, let's go over the good things. So I want to talk about the maps first and foremost. We'll talk about that in the bad as well because there's a couple of bad maps, but there are a lot more good maps in this game than bad, so that is definitely a positive. I'm definitely way more positive on these maps than I were for the Modern Warfare 2019 maps, which is really good. Specifically, Crown Raceway and Fortress. Those two maps are probably my favorite new maps currently. I really obviously love Mercado as well as Farm 18, which were from the beta, but in terms of the new maps, I think Crown Raceway and Fortress are really, really solid maps. I'm actually really enjoying them. Crown Raceway reminds me of like a Black Ops 2 map, almost like Plaza. It has a similar layout, and it almost feels the same way too in terms of like the color scheme and everything. I really love that map. And Fortress almost reminds me like a Black Ops 1 map, kind of like Hanoi, almost similar to that. I don't know, just some examples I can give of past maps that kind of remind me of these maps, and they're really good maps. I'm really enjoying them. Even the other maps, a couple of the other ones are pretty good. I don't really have that many issues with that many maps in this game. There's only 2 maps I don't like, and we'll talk about that in the bad. For weapon leveling, I'm actually liking how it works. It is kind of slow, I will say, compared to the beta, but I'm okay with it being slower because it just means more time to grind, more time to have things to accomplish in the game, so I'm okay with that. And I do really like how guns are unlocked in this game. It was the same thing in the beta. You can't just unlock guns by leveling up. You also have to level up specific guns to get other guns in the game. And I like that because it gets you to use every gun. You know, I really don't like how in some CODs there's like very, very meta guns that really most people stick to and don't really try to use other guns. And obviously you're going to have balance issues pretty much every single Call of Duty, but at least in this game, regardless of the balance issues, people are still motivated to use other guns so they can unlock other guns in the game, because certain guns are the only, like, you can only unlock certain guns with certain guns. It sounds confusing, but that's kind of how the game works now, and I like that because, again, it gets me to use guns I normally wouldn't be using, so that's really cool. The red diamonds above enemy players is a huge improvement. Previously in the beta, we had absolutely nothing to indicate that it was an enemy other than the fact that they did not have the blue nameplate over them. And I didn't like that because it was really hard to see players sometimes. The visibility was pretty bad, but thankfully they put these little red diamonds, and honestly, I think the red diamonds are even better than having nameplates. I really love these red diamonds. It makes it a lot easier to pinpoint players, and in my opinion, just makes the gameplay flow a lot better. Footstep audio, way better. They decrease the footstep audio range, so it doesn't go as far. Like, you can't hear people as from far of a distance. It's really good because I don't really have that situation anymore where I feel like I can hear someone from really far away, and I feel like I just completely ruined their ability to try and flank me because I can just hear them from so far away, so I can predict exactly where they're coming. I do like that now. You can't easily predict where people are coming from footstep audio. I definitely feel like rushing is a little bit easier because of that, so that's a huge plus. In the camos and the camo progression, I love the camos first and foremost, but the camo progression, the new challenges, I really love. There's no like tedious, annoying challenges in this game. There's no like long shots or hipfire kills, or actually there might be hipfire kills, I'm not too sure, but I know there's no long shots, there's no mounted kills, so any of the really bad challenges, they don't exist anymore. So I'm very happy about that. And it's kind of cool how it works because every gun has like 4 specific camos tied to that gun, and then if you earn any one of those 4 camos, it will unlock for every other gun in the game, which is really interesting. So every gun has like unique camos that you can only unlock within that gun, but then of course you got to keep doing that for every gun if you want to get gold for each gun. You got to just get 4 camos for each gun. That's it. You can get gold really quickly in this game because you just got to do those 4 challenges for gold, and then you get gold in every gun in the class, and you get platinum, and it's just the same way how it works in previous games, but I really like it because there's not too many tedious challenges. And I like how the camo unlocks for every gun, so you can kind of just like, you don't have to necessarily do a bunch of challenges on one gun just to get a bunch of camos. You can just do a bunch of challenges on other guns, and you're automatically going to have those camos unlocked for every other gun in the game. I really like that system. I think they did a great job with the camo progression in this game. Now onto the bad. There are still tons of problems with this game. I think the new maps, like I said, most of them are great, but 2 of them, Embassy and El Islo, I can't really pronounce it, not very good. I'm not enjoying them. Embassy, more than anything, I think is probably one of the worst maps I've played in COD history. It's terrible. And they did remove museums, so there's actually only 10 6v6 maps in this game at launch, which is not a lot of maps, But I don't really care. I'm not one to complain about having not a lot of maps because, I mean, even Cold War only had 8 6v6 at launch, and I enjoyed most of those maps, so I was fine with it. I care way more about the quality, and because 8 of these maps are at least decent, I'm okay with it, right? There's only those 2 maps that I don't like, and of course, we're going to get tons of DLC maps really soon, probably already in November. We'll probably get a couple new maps, so it's going to come before we even know it, so I don't think there's really a big point in complaining about it. It's just how the way it is in this game. You're definitely going to be playing the same map a couple of times, because 10 is definitely a lot less than 16 like what we had in Vanguard, but obviously you can also play Ground War. There's 5 maps there, so there's definitely a ton of content you can play there. There are so many bugs and glitches in this game. I mean, way more than the beta even had. I am just really surprised by the amount of bugs and glitches. There's also a lack of stuff in the game right now, which is really weird. Like, not in terms of like the maps and stuff, but I mean in terms of like game modes is one thing. There's definitely not a lot of game mode options, but there's also not a lot of like features that are just normally in COD. Like the leaderboards aren't there. Combat record isn't there, which is weird. I'm sure they'll add it soon, probably within like a week or two, but it's just strange not to see it. I don't know. I mean, we're usually expecting that type of stuff on launch, so there's just not a lot there. Obviously, the shop isn't open yet. There's no battle pass, so there's just not a lot of options in the menu. And even when you look around, there's not a lot even in the other modes. Like Spec Ops, there's only 3 missions for Spec Ops, and that's it. Like Spec Ops is definitely lacking as well. I know we're not really talking about Spec Ops in this video, but it's just weird to see such a lack of things to do in the game. And I'm sure 5 months down the line, or even just a couple months, it's going to have way more content, because that's how COD is nowadays. It is a live service game. It's more about drip feeding than it is about giving you a ton of content on launch, because they know the content on launch is going to be good enough for most people, so they're okay with not having as much on launch, but then just drip feeding you a bunch of stuff throughout the life cycle, so then you have a lot more content to play around with. So it's not a big deal, but it is something I should mention. The UI still sucks. They fixed a couple of things and made it a little bit better than it was in the beta, but it still is pretty bad. It's hard to get around. Things are not that obvious of, you know, where certain things are. It just feels clunky. I'm not a fan of the UI. It's really bad, but it doesn't ruin the game necessarily. It's just kind of annoying. Not having prestige again is something I'm not a fan of either. I think there's an easy fix for this. I know why they do this system that they do here with the seasonal prestiges, because they do want that unified progression between Warzone as well as the multiplayer modes and such. I think the easy way to fix that is just have it so the unified progression is a separate thing. You can call it seasonal ranks, you can call it whatever the hell you want. You could have that be tied to like the battle pass, but then you can also have your normal leveling in multiplayer, and you can still prestige the same way you did in any other Call of Duty. And I know a lot of people say, well, they don't like the idea of being forced to like reset everything and you have to unlock everything again. Well, true, but you don't have to prestige. You can just stay at prestige 0. You don't have to prestige. You're never forced to do it. And you can still have your seasonal leveling. So you can still level up through the seasonal ranks the same way you did in the past couple CODs. So I don't see why they couldn't do that. It doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is, I guess. And no, we haven't went on the shop or anything yet, but I really doubt we're going to have a lot of grindable content in game other than the camos. So probably not going to be a lot of things to go for in terms of that, unfortunately, but that's been a common problem for the past couple of Call of Duties. And equipment spam is really bad right now. I didn't really talk about that in the beta too much, but oh my god, I can't play a game without getting a million different pieces of equipment thrown at me. It's just insane. Also, a lot of the other problems with the beta, like I said, still exist. I don't like the time to kill. You know, the ADS is a little bit too slow. I sometimes feel like camping is definitely a lot easier in this game than it is rushing, but whatever. Talked about that a bunch in the beta. There's not really much of a point of staying on that topic now. As a whole, I'm enjoying the game. I don't think it's bad. Definitely not as bad as Modern Warfare 2019. I definitely think it is the honeymoon phase, so of course, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more than I probably will in like a week or two. But I'm going to keep playing. I'm probably going to be live on Twitch and YouTube again later today and tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'll do Twitch and YouTube, when I'll switch it around, but just follow me on Twitch, follow me here on YouTube, or I guess subscribe is the real word for it. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.